Bring in some great legal guests, criminal defense attorney Michael Bixon and family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Michael in Atlanta, Georgia, Jennifer in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This case is one of those cases where the defendant is so despicable with his actions leading up to this time period in the fact that he had two women going on, which is fine, but he told neither one of them knew about each other, supposedly, and he was going to marry the second one. One ends up dead. Michael, the prosecution's case was solid before they even opened their mouth, just because of the fact that this guy is a pathological liar.
It's a lot to overcome for the defense. I mean, when you have such a crazy scenario as this, when you have someone that's married to one person, dating another person, and then about to get married to that individual, and then that individual ends up dead, there's no surprise here who's going to be the number one suspect. So from the moment that the police go and they talk to him, he's got a very uphill battle to face, not to mention all the other circumstantial evidence that the state has introduced throughout this trial, which is quite a lot. So like I said, he's got a very big uphill battle to fight at this point if he plans on winning this trial.
Jennifer, there is the things that aren't there, though, that are a bit concerning if you're a juror, possibly. The fact that he doesn't leave any DNA at the crime scene. He doesn't take any of her blood DNA with him into his vehicle. The only thing in the vehicle is one particle of gunshot residue, but this is a gun owner, and a particle of gunshot residue can last for years. How would you fashion your clothes if you're the defense?
You gave me a tough one, Ted, because I think it's a real uphill battle. I would focus on the fact that they're exactly what you said. That type of evidence that would really close the case on him is not there. And then I would try, if I could, to point to, that there may be other people involved. I mean, you had his wife testify. She testified she didn't know anything about his relationship with Molly, the person who ended up dead. But maybe she did, and a lot of people are skeptical about that. How could she be married to this guy for all this time and not know that he was carrying on this affair and making these plans? So did she have something to do with it? I guess if I was the defense, I would try to point to probably some other people that might have had some motive for harming this woman.
Michael, one of the physical pieces of evidence that the state does have is this tire track that was left at the scene, and an expert came in and testified to its validity. The defense did a pretty good job on cross-examination in creating some doubt around not only the science in general, but this expert witness specifically. Your take on the effectiveness and the amount of attention the state should give to this tire track evidence, given the fact that their expert wasn't maybe as strong as they were hoping, because it was a big deal during the opening. Would you still follow through on your close with the amount of emphasis as you did at the start?
Absolutely. I mean, you use whatever you have. And while he might not have been the best witness, and I think that the defense did a great job at cross-examining him, you still would use what you got. And I think it's a very crucial part for the state. I think it's a great bolstering element to their case. I mean, obviously, they do have a lot of other circumstantial evidence in this case, but I do think it was sort of a foundational piece that a lot of their argument, a lot of their questioning revolved around. So if I were them, yeah, absolutely, I would still use it.
Jennifer, your take on the tire track evidence, its effectiveness, and will it sway the jury?
I think it will sway the jury. I mean, what else did they have? There was those tire tracks there. I agree the testimony wasn't as strong as that we would have liked it to be, but I just think everything points to James Addie. I just really don't see how he's going to get around this at all. So I do think he has a really big uphill battle, and I think the tire tracks are just another thing that confirm the fact that he probably did this crime.
The state doesn't know specifically, Michael, how it happened. Sometimes there's video, right? So sometimes you know everything. Sometimes there are markers. There's cell phone tracking that puts him there at a certain time. This case lacked a lot of that type of evidence. Should the defense be pushing here for a murder 2 conviction, given the state that they're in here, and really attack during the close the law and try to just push this jury away from murder 1?
I mean, look, you try whatever you can. I think that for something like this, though, they're going to go for broke. I think they're going to go and just basically say that the state's case really has not met the elements they need to in order to secure a conviction. We heard some light testimony about them trying to introduce alternative theories, which for any circumstantial case is very important. But really, I think whatever charge they're going to try to go against, I think it really attacks the elements regardless of whatever the charge is. As long as you're saying that, hey, they didn't meet the element of or the burden they have of beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think that's really going to attack all the charges, really.
Jennifer, that narrative that she ran a business, Molly, and it could have been somebody that she come in contact with. Should the defense have put up a case only to project to the jury that, yes, this woman did have a life outside of her boyfriend, the prison guard? She was interacting with other people, and other people, in this case, given the lack of physical evidence at the scene, could have been the true suspect.
I think that was the defense's best shot to do that, because otherwise everything does point to James Addie. I mean, he was the one that was leading the double life. He was the one that seemed to have the greatest motive. I mean, he was in a situation where he was ready to marry Molly and realized that he couldn't have two wives, and that was going to be a really difficult thing to do, and probably panicked. Or maybe she found out about his other life. So for the defense, the best thing to do would be to point to, were there other people that could have possibly committed this crime? Was there someone else in her outside life? Take it away from the relationship with James and try to point to others that she may have interacted with, maybe somebody that she angered or in her business that was upset with her. That would have been the best defense, I think.
Michael, right now the jury stands at 9 women, 6 men. 3 of those individuals, though, are alternates. If those three alternates, which should be identified this morning, turn out to be all men and they get bounced, this would be a lopsided jury. Does it matter the disgust level of the defendant's behavior? Do men and women think any differently?
Well, I mean, in general, yeah, I do think they do think differently. But in terms of the disgust level for this, I mean, I think that a lot of people would be turned off by sort of the double life that he was living. It really wouldn't matter whether or not you were a man, whether you're a woman, whatever. I think a lot of people are going to take issue with what was going on in his life. So I don't really think it's going to matter too much whether or not you end up with a majority of women or men or however it ends up being, played out in the jury.
Jennifer, do you think it matters?
I do think it matters. I think that the disgust level for women is going to be a much greater disgust level. So, because they're just going to say this is despicable, that he was, these poor women, both his wife and unfortunately the victim here. So maybe a man would be maybe a little bit more understanding and say, this guy got himself into a problem. But I don't know. I think just the circumstances of the case are bad for Mr. Addie, no matter what.
Yeah, man or woman. But to Jennifer's point, the defense is crossing their fingers that these alternates will all be women, and they don't deliberate. We're going to step aside, take a break. The courtroom is ready to go. Our cameras are there. People are milling around. They're getting ready. The lawyers are making their final changes to their final addresses to this jury. It's all coming up. The closing arguments in the state of Missouri versus James Addie, right here on Court TV. Stay with us. Welcome back to Court TV Live. Prosecutors in Missouri presented a case with a substantial amount of circumstantial evidence. Will it be enough to get a conviction? Let's look back at the state's case.
The big day was planned for Sunday, April 29th of 2018. They had gone together to the county recorder's office to get their marriage application signed. They had their venue picked out, the Stony Creek Inn in Columbia, Missouri. It was to be a beautiful and long-awaited celebration of their love. There was just one small problem. James Addie was already married to his wife of 22 years. Did you have any idea that your husband was using this cell phone to communicate with his girlfriend?
No.
Had you ever heard of Molly Nicole Watson prior to the early morning hours of April 28th?
No.
Did he make any statements to you about how the wedding, planning was going?
So right before he left, I did ask him if he was excited for the wedding, and his only statement was that she was driving him crazy.
The body of Molly Watson was found down a rural, unpaved, dusty road. Molly had been shot once, contact range in the back of her head.
Ma'am. Oh my God. I don't think she's alive, no.
Did you form an opinion as to Molly Watson's cause of death?
Cause of death is a contact gunshot wound of the head.
While they were still on the scene, officers went and looked at Molly's wedding website that they were able to see it still up online and found the name of her fiancé, James Addie. And they set off to notify who would certainly be a devastated fiancé. On the way, they found two more items. One, Molly's cell phone, and another, a bloody t-shirt thrown on the side of the road.
Once we had identified Molly, I did an internet search to try to determine if I could find any information about her. During that search, I did find a wedding registry that indicated that she and James Addie had signed up for wedding registry at Bed Bath & Beyond. And there's also wedding ceremony information.
Mr. Addie opened the door. I introduced myself to him, explained to him that I needed to talk to him about Molly Watson, and asked if I could come inside to talk to him.
And did he agree to do so?
Yes, he did.
What happened next?
I then followed him down a dark hallway, and as we got to the end of the hallway, a female appeared out of a side room, caught me completely off guard. I asked her who she was. She replied, "I am his wife." And at the same time, he replied back to me, "That's my wife." And so at that point in time, I was like, whoa. I was wondering what was going on.
When they asked him what he had done that day, he said he had gone out to visit a friend in his maroon Mercury car, gotten back around 8:30. He talked to Molly for the last time for about half an hour, 22 minutes exactly. And then after that, he tried to call and text her the remainder of the night, but no response. But James Addie's daughter told a different story. Her father did not get home at 8:30. He got home at 10, did some laundry, and bathed. She told the police something else. Remember that bloody t-shirt that the officers found thrown on the side of the road? She recognized that t-shirt because she had made it.
There was a contest in my graphic design class that we had to go to, and we had to print certain designs on the t-shirt a certain way, and everybody in the class did theirs correctly. I'm the only one who messed up very bad, so I know that's my shirt.
Did you form an opinion about whether or not gunshot residue was present on that t-shirt?
Particles characteristic of gunshot residue were detected on the t-shirt.
Officers went out to look at the car that James Addie admitted to driving that night, covered in dust. And they made special note of the tires. The right rear tire of James Addie's car was identified as the source of the tire print found just feet from Molly's body. And what conclusion did you draw, if any, about the tire and the cast?
My conclusion was that particular tire made that particular impression.
Both the T-shirt and the interior of the car were either in the environment of a discharged firearm or came into contact with somebody or something that had gunshot residue on it.
Molly's cell phone that was found on the side of the road is the last link in the chain. Molly's cell phone had an application installed on it called DriveSense, and it tracked Molly's last trip that night. And that trip, 22 minutes long, corresponds exactly with the last phone call between James Addie and Molly Watson. I am confident that the evidence is going to show you that on April 27th of 2018, James Addie made a choice between his two lives. And I am confident that you will return the verdicts of guilty, murder in the first degree, and armed criminal action for the death of Molly Watson.
Okay, that was the state's case. A lot of it was the opening statement. We're going to hear a version of that coming up in just a bit with their closing argument. Michael Bixon and Jennifer Brandt still with us. Michael, the state's case, when you look at it and you look back at it, what stands out to you as the most compelling part of it?
Oh, wow, there's a lot. You know, it's funny because when I look back on it, there isn't one particular thing. It's a lot of little things. I mean, like the gunshot residue in the car, it's not a big thing. It's just a little bit. You know, the daughter's testimony is still a little bit. Everything sort of adds up, though, and paints this very vivid picture, I think, for the jurors to sort of go through and think about how it could have all unfolded. And I think that's so far the best thing about the state's case is there is so much circumstantial evidence. Even though each piece by itself might not be enough, there is so much at the sort of like the totality of it that it's almost overwhelming for the defense, I think.
Yeah, well, deceit is another part of this equation. And the ex-wife now, Melanie, got on the stand and she gave the jury a window into the level of deceit that the defendant was conducting himself with. It was revolved around a trip to Florida, where he said he was going down to Florida for some marksman training, and she talked about the extent that he went to try to fool her. Take a look.
When you say training trips, did he give you any more specifics about what kind of training he was receiving in Florida?
Specifically sniper training.
What, if anything, did your husband tell you about being a sniper or receiving sniper training?
From that trip?
In general.
He said he had done that kind of work in the military.
Did he tell you anything about his shooting skills?
He said he was good.
That trip to Florida for sniper training for work, did he just tell you about going, or was there some other evidence that you saw about this trip to Florida?
I found a paper on our computer desk. It had Moberly Correctional Center letterhead. It seemed very official, typed out, about the training itself and where he should go and what time he should be there.
Jennifer, this one really stuck out to me. He created a fake itinerary for sniper training. You know, he's not only lying, but on the way out, before going to pet flipper with his girlfriend, he's telling his wife that he's this great sniper, a fantastic shot, and oh, you just might see my itinerary that I left by the computer. This one was disgusting, man or women on the jury, right? This one really gives you a window into the defendant's mind.
Right. I mean, it shows how calculating he really is. And as a family law attorney, I mean, the fact that he went to Florida with a girlfriend and deceived his wife, that's not so surprising to me. I see that a lot in my practice. But in this case, you have him creating this false itinerary, which is quite unusual, and putting it out so his wife will see it. I mean, clearly he was thinking about all these different things, which I think, you know, will stick in the jury's mind, that he is just this calculating type of person who kind of plans out every move. This was not something that he just, you know, spur of the moment. I think that really hurts his case.
On the other side, Michael, nobody would have planned this murder the way he did. Just willy-nilly throws the cell phone and the T-shirt out the window, I guess, brings his car back, it's all dusty and whatnot. So you could argue on some level that if he was going to kill her, he sure wouldn't have done it this way, that type of argument that we hear a lot.
It's certainly an argument. It's very difficult, though, to paint your client as innocent at the same time as very calculating, because essentially it's what you are, right? You're saying that, look at, how good he was at hiding this relationship from his wife, but look how bad he was at committing this murder. And you can make that argument, and I think it's certainly maybe a fallback argument or maybe like a last-ditch effort, but like you'd have to be very careful about putting out to the jury about just how cold and calculating your client really is, and that's why he isn't guilty. So it's a difficult one.
Right, yeah. He did introduce his daughter to his girlfriend at one point, and his daughter talked about it on the stand.
Had you ever met a woman named Molly Watson before?
Yes.
Right. Can you tell the jury about that?
A couple of years ago, it was 2017, I believe. My friend and I were going to this convention, and we needed costumes made. And Dad said that he knew somebody who did that kind of thing. And he took me, and that person was Molly, and he took me to go meet her, and she made a costume for me.
And how was she introduced to you?
I remember we got there, and it was just like a regular introduction. Like, this is Emma, this is Molly.
Jennifer, this was a witness that was just heartbreaking because as she detailed what she remembered from that night, she was bringing you into this 17-year-old's world, including the fact that she had prom the next day. And she also brought to the table some specifics that Dad came home at 10 o'clock, not 8:30, like he told the police, and he did laundry, I smelled bleach, and he took a shower. How important is she, and do you bring her up in your clothes?
Absolutely. I think she's critical to this case because I think she's very believable, first of all. And second of all, the timeline kind of comports with the idea that he could have killed Molly. It's not what he said. Between the two situations, I think she is so believable. And the bleach and the T-shirt, and she was able to accurately describe, how she messed up the T-shirt, and that was certainly her T-shirt. I think she is a critical witness in this case. It is heartbreaking to see that he not only, allegedly killed Molly, but he ruined this family as well, and certainly this daughter will never be the same, knowing that her father acted in this way.
Yeah, absolutely. The defense, on the other hand, took a little different approach to the prosecution. They didn't present a case, didn't have a lot of evidence their way. They used cross-examination. What kind of impact will it have on jury deliberations? We'll take a look at the defense case when we come back. This is Court TV Live. Stay with us. Welcome back to Court TV Live. We're waiting the jury to enter the courtroom in Missouri. As soon as they do, we'll get you in live. In opening statements, defense attorney T.J. Kearse essentially claimed that investigators didn't do enough investigating, especially when it came to looking for alternate suspects in Molly's murder. Kearse argued that James Addie was an active participant in both the wedding planning and Watson's death investigation, something Addie wouldn't have done if he was guilty.
The evidence will also show that Jim cooperated. Investigators went to his home that evening. He spoke with them. He volunteered the cell phone. He said, yes, I've had an affair. I have this separate cell phone I use just to contact her. He told them where he was. He told them what car he was driving, and they said, well, we don't see that car. And he volunteered, it's in the garage. Sure, go take a look. consents to searches, cooperates, speaks with police. The evidence will also show that wedding planning was going swimmingly, that he was participating in the wedding planning. In fact, on April 27th, Jim paid $4,000 of the remaining balance. He participated in the wedding planning, he was still paying, he was dropping off decorations, and that's where the state's case makes no sense. This is again, there's a wedding website. It's a publicly available wedding plan. Been planned for almost a year. And that's the alleged motive?
TJ Kirsch's opening statement was just over 5 minutes, not very long, and he didn't choose to put on a case to rebut, and a lot of his cross-examination was reduced to 1, 2, 3 questions. That means the majority of his defense, of course, did come from the cross-examination, and in a couple cases, he did go all in. How Kirsch tried to raise doubt on one of the state's biggest parts of their case, of course, is the tire tracks, and that is where TJ Kirsch went after the witness.
Explain to the jury what you've done here.
This is a chart that I had made after my comparisons, during my comparisons, and it just kind of lists out the numbers 1 through 11, and they correspond between the tire and the impression. So on the left side, you see the number, top left, you see number 1, and what's circled on the tire corresponds to the number 1 on the impression itself, and then it just went through 1 through 11.
So you have 11 areas of individual characteristics?
Yes.
Is that in your training and experience, is that a lot?
It's sufficient enough for an identification.
And what conclusion did you draw, if any, about the tire and the cast?
My conclusion was that particular tire made that particular impression.
Could you tell us how many other types of tires would share these class characteristics?
I would expect that from the manufacturer, the tires that have been produced within that same mold would share these class characteristics.
And how many tires were made from that same mold?
I do not have that information.
How many of those tires are on the road in Missouri?
I don't know that.
Could you please tell the jury how many Goodyear Viva 3s you have analyzed in the past?
It'd be at least 2.
The 2 in this case?
At least these 2.
Okay.
Yes.
How many others?
I do not know.
Is there any required percentage of identifiable characteristics required to make an identification?
No.
Is there any known margin of error in this field?
Like an error rate?
Yes, error rate, margin of error, match probability, reliance however you want to say it.
So there's no standard within the forensic science fields of error rates being tabulated. So no forensic science discipline has or the field in general, all of the fields of forensic science does not have a single way to establish error rates. Error rates can be established by different ways. One of the ways is through like proficiency testing that I explained before. And proficiency testing, you can tabulate an error rate from the proficiency tests.
Well, you can tabulate the error rates on the tests, yeah. I'm saying in your field, in practice, what's the margin of error when somebody makes an identification based on subjective criteria that a particular tire made a particular imprint?
There is no error rate that can be established because the ground truth is not known at that particular time.
Let's bring back Michael Bixon and Jennifer Brandt. Michael, what is your thought on this defense? You play the cards you're dealt, and the strategy here was to be short and sweet with most of the cross-examination, short and sweet on the open. Do you carry that through with your close?
I think so. I mean, I think that he's done an excellent job with what he's been given. Was everything short? Yes, but it was really well done. I mean, we were just watching that cross, and it was a fantastic cross. I was watching it, and I want to take notes. He did a great job. And I think that he did a really good job at highlighting all the issues with the state's case, in particular with this with the prosecution witness that was just on the stand. As far as the opening, yes, again, it was short, but he did highlight all of the issues with the state's case, and he also sort of owned all the bad facts. You heard him talking about the relationship, getting in front of them, and I think it's very important whenever you have something that's glaring and problematic for your case.
Jennifer, owning bad facts in this case is crucial. He did it in the open. Does he have to double down in the close?
I think so. I think, especially after the jurors heard all of this evidence and heard all of these witnesses, I do think he has to clearly admit that, James Addie was not a perfect person and had an affair and, was planning a wedding and all of that. But he will, I'm sure, point out that, he does not believe that the state investigated it enough and that there were other people out there who could be potential suspects that weren't investigated, and it wasn't James Addie.
Another one of his effective crosses came with the wedding planner, who had told the jury that the only thing that Addie really said that last day was that his wife was driving him crazy. Take a look.
Did he make any statements to you about how the wedding, planning was going?
So right before he left, I did ask him if he was excited for the wedding, and his only statement was that she was driving him crazy.
When was the last time you talked to Molly Watson?
It was that Friday.
The Friday that James came to drop off the decoration?
Yes.
And when we've been talking about James Addie, do you see Mr. Addie in the courtroom here today?
I do.
Would you please point him out for the jury?
Yes.
One thing you said on direct examination, you said Jim made some comment that she was driving him crazy right before the wedding, right?
Yes.
You took that as like a last-minute wedding joke, right?
Yeah, I assumed, since I knew she was working and he had him running around doing all the last-minute wedding stuff, so that's just what I assumed he meant by it.
Thank you.
Michael, that was low-hanging fruit on one end because you know that that's what he meant, but you never know, especially when someone is a witness like that, a young woman who may be there thinking that she has to really deliver for the state. But he did a good job of eliciting from her, all right, he was just kidding, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit risky play because you never really know exactly how someone is going to testify on the stand. And so him sort of framing that question in that specific way, I think, was slightly risky, but it definitely played off. I think it turned out great for the defense when the way that he questioned her.
And Jennifer, to that end, do prosecutors lose credibility when they allow a fact like that is not true or it's deceiving and they're burned on it in cross?
I don't think so, and I don't think so in this case. I don't even think the defense needed to ask that question. I think the jurors could have taken it that way. Well, he's driving him crazy. I think the fact is, I think what the point of the prosecution and using this witness was to show that he was in this wedding planning. He was deceiving everybody, deceiving his wife, deceiving Molly. And I think that's the point that they were trying to make, not what he said about, his wife driving him crazy. I don't think they were saying that was the reason why he killed her. I think they were trying to show, his actions and how he was just manipulating everybody and creating this false narrative in his life that he ended up, not knowing how to act and what to do with it. And I think that's what they're trying to show with that witness.
Everything is set. The table is set. The courtroom is ready to go in Missouri. And we are ready to go as well for the closing arguments, the last chance for both sides to push this jury one way or another. 9 women and 6 men will sit down and listen to the closing arguments in just a bit. Stay with us.
I would like people to know that, first of all, she wasn't just a murder victim. She was a person. She lived. She was so kind, so loving. She would have done anything for anyone. Her passion was nail polish. She made charity polishes for people. She made custom polishes for people. Anything you wanted, she would have done for you. She was just giving. And it's so unfair for someone like that to have gotten taken away from us.
Welcome back. That was Allison Seeds, one of the friends of Molly Watson. They got together on an online mom group. We didn't hear from anyone who knew Watson personally at trial, but Seeds was able to shed some light on the relationship between the defendant and the victim.
Well, she talked about the car accident in December that his son and what he said ex-wife were in. He said that initially he said that his ex-wife died right then and there at the accident. And then he said, no, she's not dead, but she's on life support and she's not expected to make it. And this was when he said he was going to move in with her and that he had to postpone moving in because he had to take care of his son and deal with the funeral. I think probably she was naive. She was such a happy, positive person. I think it was hard for her to see bad things in people because she didn't see bad things in people. She thought life was great, the world was great, people were great, and I think it would have been hard for her to comprehend that someone would do that to her.
Let's bring back Michael Bixon and Jennifer Brandt. The jury hear from Allison Seeds, but they did hear some of these stories, including this story that the defendant told Molly, allegedly, that his wife had died in a car accident that he was in with the son. And then the wife takes the stand, and part of that testimony was, are you dead? No, I'm not. I wasn't in a car accident. Again, it gets another layer of lies. And Michael, we also heard that the victim in this case actually had an online search for a death certificate of his ex-wife. So she was suspicious as well down the line. Do you think that type of, a person who's sitting in the defendant's chair who has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt at trial is a pathological liar, it's really tough not to make that leap that he's also guilty of whatever crime he's accused of?
Yeah, and I think that, the state certainly could have done a little bit better job at, one, personalizing the victim in this case, and two, carrying over sort of, his actions in the relationship between him and the victim in this case to, sort of the allegations that have been brought against him. There was so much for them to play off in terms of this relationship. I mean, it's beyond unique. I've never heard of anything like this in my life. And I really think that they're presented with a unique opportunity they might have been able to capitalize on just a touch bit more. So I do think that there were some aspects of the case that they could have worked on a little bit more that they left out. But at the end of the day, how necessary that is, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Jennifer, before we go to break, the defense has a few minutes here to get their closing finished up here. Do you address at all the lies of the defendant? And, well, I mean, you have to address it, don't you?
I think you do. I think they have to tackle that head on. That part of it is very clear. Whether they make the leap, the jury makes the leap that that he's also a murderer. That's a different story, and that's the defense's job. They're going to have to say, yes, this guy led a double life. Other people do too, but that doesn't mean that he's a murderer.
Right, absolutely. All right, as we approach the top of the hour, we're going to step aside, take a break. We have our eye on the courtroom. As soon as the jury is there, the judges on the bench will get you in for closing arguments. Stay with us. This is Court TV, your front row seat to justice.